Improvement to the Times by Joseph Scaliger, Book 1, Chapter 9, concerning the Attican period. From the Olympic period, the next spot is occupied by Attica, without which our understanding from all of our studies would be rendered useless in the Greek times. Therefore, with the Attican year in dispute, to olio, we make two parts, Tinpos Fathoresin and the start of the period, which requires a duplicitous interpretation, for what is seen and from which time and led from which lunar cycle, with also needing a natural reason that intercalation is thrown in the end of the year. Rightly we say the year's last month, which assigns the intercalations. Its true one is Posidion, as we previously demonstrated. Therefore, Posidion is the last month, and Gamilion, which follows next, is the first month, whereas the beginning of the Attican year occurs in the winter time. What things agree with Terentius, and who under the cloak of Apollodorus can speak to this? Auspex vetuit ante brumen alicit novae incipere. Since of course the ancient Attican year began from winter, and without doubt his comedy, Apollodorus teaches Dionysius kat agoras, the month of Posidion, which is the month just before the winter solstice. However restless, Hecatomion is the Olympic month, and the Greeks, on account of the Olympics, place their season there. I admit that. So notwithstanding what they say, it is the truth. In fact, the context of the ancient Attican year is based on the winter solstice. The real common beginning of time is placed from Hecatomion, because of the Olympic Games, celebrated right on the first full moon after the summer solstice. And with no one knowing the beginning of the years, phise, or rather thise, as in cyclical, at least if our beginning is allowed to be called natural, from where they form the reasonable years. For which, concerning the cycle we propose, all of them are different in the Greek period, which have a natural beginning, as can be seen in the new Tetraeteride moon register. A great place where that can be viewed is in the register of new moons in the Tetraeteride placed above. For at first we consider the first Tetraeteride in the period, and the first year of the Tetraeteride, which consists of 4 years, all having different new moons. And the beginning of the same Tetraeteride is constructed on its new moon, where the other new moons, as they led a certain other Fatus Crucipius. Therefore, those beginnings we call natural, and others, however, from Hecatomion, as popularly said, where from the beginning of the Laws by Plato, Book 6, Epidan melo neos ineotos meta theron tropos tu epionti mini yenesthie. And also Dionysius of Ephoro commonly thought that time began in the month of Hecatomion. He writes about the fall of Troy. Telia tu tos ide tu eros eptike deca himeras proteron tis therines tropes ogdon thiniatos minos Thargelion us Athenias tus chronos augusti. So the dual beginning of the Judaic year, the natural one from the autumn, which can be rationally deduced from their year, and the other from civil and religion in the month of Nisan. Therefore we speak about nature, because indeed, as we say, the establishment in winter is not the only reason above that leads to debate, but also him, which we just now named Dionysius. He said that Troy was captured 17 days before the solstice, 23rd Thargelion. Therefore, the solstice was the 10th of Scaliger. After the 10th of Scaliger, he wrote that there were 20 extra days filling the year. Perite de isen ton iniotos ikonon epiruse metetun trope icosi himeres. If consequently the end of Scaliger followed, it is the next to the beginning of the other year. Surely Scaliger would have had no appended anarchos himeres. Ergo, the ancient Tetraeteride was not instituted from Hecatomion, for as Galapagos teaches, hyperbaluse himere is considered the end of the year. The days of Scaliger are found in the writings of Dionysius. Therefore, Scaliger is not the last month of the year. Then neither is Hecatomion the first. Therefore, it follows that his month has tas hyperbaluses, which is the last in the reason for the period. This, however, is Posidion, which is known to have been placed by intercalation. Therefore Posidion had tas anarchos, and consequently the next Gamilion from there is the first month in the count of their ancient Tetraeteride. With therefore Posidion having tas anarchos humeres, which once elected magistrates, there is no doubt that as long as it was held, that before Numinia Gamilionos, magistrates were elected. Gamilion itself is the start of the year. But after reverence of those Olympic games, the start of Hecatombion began the year. This observance, we see, whose year of Olympic competition starts the Attican period. Plutarch writes about the battle of Chalbria near Naxum and arrives on Boedrominos pempto thiniatos periti Panselinion. This season joins the year with the first year of the 100th Olympiad, according to Eusebius, that is, in the Ephistus year 401. What if the full moon fell on the 26th of Boedromion? Then the new moon was the 14th or 13th of the month, and indeed Boedromion is the third month. However, if the new moon fell on the 14th or 13th of the month, as it really cannot happen unless the year is the Tetraeteride's third, and the next year, the first Olympic year, begins the third Attican Tetraeteride. Therefore, their second, which we demonstrated in the final discourse of the Olympic period, and the Attican period differ from the Olympic by 2 cycles. And to convert the period to Attican, it is offset from the Olympic period by 38 years. The table is constructed, therefore, with the same period as the Olympic, as all of their new moons and their epochs and Julian months, and nothing more is necessary to explain Attican seasons. Also adding perites himeres, and while always different, as we say, unites the Olympics in the 4th year because of the Julian leap year and the Olympic leap year. Now his faith is in peril, leading us to repeat the next example. 401 Iphistus years, casting aside 76, all that can be, is 21 periods of 6 Olympiads, of which, if accommodating the entire period, that must be done whenever a large number is added or subtracted, deduct 38 years, leaving the year 59 in the Attican period in the table of periods in the region of the year 59. In the place of Boedromion, the new moon of Boedromion occurred on the 12th of September. Therefore, the 26th had been the 7th of October, which is not only necessary to have the full moon to teach us the pattern of new moons, but also the Judaic tertiary in the year 3386. It has the characteristics 5, 14, 55, September 23rd, the 5th weekday, solar cycle 26. So the full moon that is proposed is on the 7th of October, weekday 5. Again, from the fall of Troy, there was 408 years before the first Olympiad. Subtracting all 76s give us a remainder of 28 years, which subtracted from 76 gives 48 years, and therefore the absolute Olympic period, which we fashion, and then it is. So the 49th year of the Olympic period is the fall of Troy. Perpetually subtracting the method of 38 years, they leave the 11th year of the Attican period, in which was the year of the fall of Troy. Its year, Dionysius says, has perite himeres ecosi, but without a doubt his failing, or the codex, is faulty. Where are the ecosi and himeres? For ecosimia himeres. His year is understood by Dionysius from Ephoro. Troy was therefore captured, Thargelion, Ogden, Thiniatos. The new moon of Thargelion is 31st of May. So 23rd Thargelion is the same as the 2nd of June, and to 9th of July, not the 17th, as Dionysius would like. But 16 also is the day, unless perhaps itself is called the 9th, however not 8th of July, Tropos Theramus. Then conveniently, and 20 have been perite himeres. With whatever kind you have, you see this and his year, which has the air of Ephorus. And to the perpetual method in the Olympic period, it is always to remove 38, so that you have the year in the Attican years. In the second year of the 75th Olympiad, that is, the Ephistus year 298, for the Athenians of the 16th of Muachinian is consecrated to Diana, because of the good lighting, that is, the full moon. They fought for their day, their natural years certainly until Salamina. Subtracting 76, while that many exist, from the 298 year of Hephaestus, and it gives us the third year of the 70th Olympic period. You cast away, therefore, from the perpetual method of 38, leaving 32 years of the Attican period, which is Metagetion, 16th of April. That, next which is the last Tetraeteride, nearly the new moon, as you can see through the registers of lunar new moons. This coincides with the new moon Eviger in the Jewish year 3283, whose character is 5-8-124, the 17th of April. Therefore, the first day of May, a full moon, in which the first day falls on the same 16th Metagetion, see how beautiful the method responds. Plutarch's words about it. Tinde ectete edeke Metagetion Artemidi Catharusan, en e tis Elise here Salamine Nicosin Epilamsan e Theos. In his time, Eusebius rightly confers the second year of the 75th Olympiad. What is not certain is if all the chronologies will remain silent. However, from his method you can guess. What, however, Darius wrote about, meant on observing the first new moon in his Hecatombia Inia Decaeteride, Sciriphorianos Trite Epidece. The fourth year of the known 86th Olympiad anticipated its declared place, from Book 2 of the Metonic New Moons. Nothing in Sciriphorion can have a new moon on the 8th, as understood from the Attican Lunar Register of New Moons. But on the 15th or 14th of Sciriphorion it can have a new moon. In the fourth year of the 86th Olympiad, that was 344 concerning Hephaestus, and in almost 40 periods there were 5 Olympics. Subtract 38, and the remaining year is the second Attican period, Sciriphorion 3rd of July. For the Jewish it was on the 16th of July. But the first new moon in the Metonic Hecatombion is on day 15, therefore 1 day before. In all, therefore, the wonderful method stands. Then the study of the register can produce many other examples. But a caveat, not that important to Plutarch, which, as we say about the others, it was not uncommon subject of hallucination. One example can be prudent for the reader. The lunar eclipse, which occurred in the year 446 of Hephaestus, Darius to the depraved Gaugamela, Plutarch confers in Mysterion Times, that is, as itself interprets otherwise, Istinacata tu Boedromionos. Subtracting all the 76s from 446, the remainder is 66 in the 6th Olympic period. Remove 38, and the remainder is the 28th year of the Attican period. The 1st of Boedromion, October, Metagetion, the 1st of September, which in the 20th, for the following 21st, the moon falls full. Therefore, not ten ikada Boedromionos, but Mysterianos, that Plutarch would like, but ten ikada Metagetionos, the lunar eclipse arrives. Plutarch, however, has the courage for that Julian Boedromion, with this written. It is not rare that he confuses Julian months and exposes the Attican years as an antique thief. This is sufficient for the Attican period. What remains is to surrender reason, wherever by the 4th of Boedromion of the Attican Tetraeteride was exivresimon, not the 2nd or 3rd. Of course, if nothing else, the reason he teaches is the equation of the final year, and he should have pride. But they confirm this example. Plutarch touches on the battle of Plataea when he says Boedromionum ista menu tetradi. At the same time, however, about the battle in Camillo, he writes, Triti Boedromionum ista menus occurred. It was the second year of the 75th Olympiad, according to Eusebius, hence the 74th period of the Olympics and the 32nd Attican. So Boedromion falls on the 4th year of the Attican Tetraeteride. And because Plutarch called it the 3rd, that before the 4th of Boedromion, there is no doubt that the 4th of Boedromion was exeresimos.